What's up, YouTube? Hello, welcome to my super unorganized and dirty garage. Just wanted to do a gear rundown video for you guys. I'm actually going to be traveling for work next week, so I won't be able to do any videos on the water, but I think I need to get something out for you guys, so just do a little gear rundown. I did just get my box from Tackle Warehouse with their 4th of July sale. So I've got some new stuff, nothing too crazy, basically just some line and this bad boy here, my Lew's inshore custom reel. This thing is pretty sweet. Right now I've got it spooled up with 65-pound Power Pro braid. For now, it's going to be my kind of top water dealio. This is a 7-foot Ardent Edge rod, medium heavy. That will be switching over to. We'll be switching that over to a frogging rod. That's going to be kind of my frogging setup, top water, that kind of deal. So that's what I got there. Now moving into the Denali rods. This is a Denali Attax 7.2 medium heavy, Attax series anyway. Wind grips on it. I'm not a huge fan of wind grips. I thought I would be, but I am not. This is my jig rod. I've got this paired up with a Lew's Super Duty 8:3:1 gear ratio reel. This is my jig rod. Most of the time I'm going to have a jig on this rod. That's a True South Custom Lures. I can't remember the style jig, but anyway, it's 3/8 ounce paired up with a Biz Baits Cutter Craw trailer. As you know, I've talked about those two brands a lot. They're my favorite. It's my favorite jig trailer and my favorite jig company. Anyway, that's my setup for jigs. Hasn't let me down yet. I've got 20-pound fluorocarbon line on that as well, straight fluorocarbon. Then for my Texas rigs, I typically go with this rod. It is a 7.2 Covert LT from Denali. This is paired up with a Typhoon 6-gill reel, 7:1 gear ratio. That is 17-pound fluorocarbon line, straight fluorocarbon again, and I've got that set up with a 3/8 ounce weight, usually pegged. I typically always peg because it's a confidence thing for me. Super line hook set up on that. So this thing has this reel's been great. I typically wouldn't buy 6-gill, I guess. Had a buddy that is on their pro staff and he talked me into buying one. So anyway, this is probably my favorite rod. No wind grips. I prefer these foam or the cork grips. But that's for my Texas rigging, my T-rigging. This is my spinnerbait setup, or kind of a light paddle tail swim swim bait. Then I'm going to throw on just a regular hook or a light jig head. This is 14-pound fluorocarbon. The rod is 6'9", medium heavy. I've caught a lot of big fish on this. That is a True South live wire spinnerbait, 3-blade spinnerbait. Haven't really had a chance to throw it much. Next tournament is actually on a spotted bass lake. 6:3:1 gear ratio, Quantum Accurist. This is a pretty old reel. Just did recently have it serviced, and it's still performing like great, like new. So moving on to my cranking setup. This is an old Denali rod that I bought off my buddy. It is a 7-foot medium heavy cranking rod. That is a Hyperion reel from 6-gill. Again, trying the 6-gill. This is 12-pound fluorocarbon. which is typically what I go with for cranking. Helps the bait get down to the depth you need it to. Again, no wind grips, which is a plus for me anyway. Just feels a little more comfortable in my hand. Don't do a ton of cranking, but I need to get better at it, hence the reason I bought this rod. This is an oversized handle as well. It's 6.5 to 1 gear ratio, but you're not working as hard to get that crankbait back to you and get it to the right depth. So that's kind of what we got there. Next, we're going to go with my spinning setups. Again, Denali rods, Covert LT. This is the Sedona reel, which is absolutely the best reel that I could have purchased for about $75. Super smooth, great drag, but that's what I got. It's 2500 size. Obviously I've got a Ned rig on here. If you watch my last video, that's how I caught some of my fish. Covert LT, this is a 7.2 medium heavy. I tend to go a little bit heavier on my spinning setups. I probably need to get something that's a little lighter just for drop shot and some other applications. I like the medium heavies for wacky rigs because I'm typically throwing those way up under docks and you've got to really wrench on them to get them out in a kayak. In a boat it might be a little bit different, I don't really know, but in a kayak you got to get that fish out of there. So that's typically why I like to go with the medium heavies. Same thing here. This has actually got a drop shot set up on it. This is an Ardent reel that I will be replacing with another Sedona here shortly. Again, 7.2 medium heavy Denali, no wind grips. This is kind of a hand-me-down rod as well. Bought this off of a buddy, but I have thoroughly enjoyed Denali rods. Those are probably my favorite overall set of rods that I've tried. Moving on to, obviously if you've watched my other videos, you know that I use a native Titan 12 Propel. Here, the Blue Lagoon. Give you a little shot there. Get into my tackle storage system that's super sophisticated and insanely expensive. It is the Ziploc brand. So I just keep this under my seat. You'll see some of the soft plastics that I've talked about, Biz Baits, Strike King, Zoom. Pretty much dominates my tackle box anyway. This thing has saved me. This is a backwater assault paddle, and for any guys that are not going to be buying a $5,000 Hobie kayak that can go 360 degrees, I would highly suggest that paddle. It makes getting in and out of tight dock situations so much easier in a Propel, and you're not using your good paddle to push off the rocks, to that kind of thing. It's nice and handheld. You can keep it right up next to you, especially on this Titan. You see this space here, and that's kind of where I keep it. So that's what I've got there. And as always, your PFD, I prefer to go with the foam PFD instead of those inflatable ones. I just don't trust it, especially the automatic ones. How am I supposed to know if that thing's gonna work, if it's not gonna work? I can't, I'm just too much on my mind to worry about that. And then, just quick, I've got my Yak Attack Black Pack. I haven't bought the trays. I got a bunch of mismatched trays. Gotta get those done. I carry 7 rods on the deck with me at one time, which is typically more than I use in a day, but what are you gonna do? So that's kind of my gear rundown. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I won't be fishing next week. I have to go to Minneapolis for work, so I will be, hopefully the next time I get a video up, it's going to be on Mountain Island Lake for the QCKBF event, trail event there. That lake can be tricky. It's a lot of spotted bass, a lot of small spotted bass, 12 to 14 inchers, but you will see some big ones caught. I mean, there's some big fish in there. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe. Also, one last thing. With these are the rod sleeves that I use, and they're completely nylon. I got them at Cabela's like 2 or 3 years ago, and I only got 5 of them, and I need like 3 or 4 more. If you know where to get some of these nylon rod sleeves, please let me know, because I can't seem to find them. They're amazing because they don't hang up on the eyelets of your rods when you're pushing them through. It's all one solid piece. So they got the little Velcro at the bottom, at the top, so they're kind of adjustable. But I just keep them as long as they go because they don't reach all the way down on my 7 to 7.2 rods. So appreciate you checking in. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I will have more content for you soon. The reason I bought that inshore reel from Luz is that I will be taking some inshore trips here shortly. Going to the Oriental, North Carolina to fish the Neuse River, and then to the Outer Banks with my wife to vacation and fish off the pier, and taking the yak for a day to fish some inshore there. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Again, leave me a comment. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Tell me how ugly I am. And we'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching Hambone Fishing.